I've discussed at length before what I think of modern SML. However, my thoughts on classic SML have always been rather brief. So today I'm going to tell all of you why I think classic SML is so great. So before I begin, what do I mean by classic SML? Well, I could obviously go with the SML era's definition that I used, and while that's easy enough to do, it isn't the most accurate for what I'll be talking about today. That definition was an easy way to organize things in a general perspective, something that most people would agree could be called the classic era. The problem with that is that I don't believe all of the SML videos I'd consider classics are contained in just that one era, and not all the videos in the classic era are instant 10 out of 10 classics. I think short of listing out all the videos I find to be classics, there's no simple start and stop point, where all the things in between are the best things ever. And at a certain point, we could argue that it's still going, since Logan from time to time does put out a genuinely really well done video. But we all know that isn't reasonable, since it would have to ignore all the bad that's in there. I'm thinking of a general stretch of time where, by my own personal definition this time, nearly everything in there is considered a classic. Now, there are certain dividing points I can mark as where the classic era was already gone, in some cases long gone, and the last thing I'll say before I begin is that this is not to say that if I don't consider a video part of classic SML, that suddenly it and everything afterwards is garbage. Again, Logan does make occasionally really good videos, but we can't account for every single rare exception. So classic SML now has two definitions. The broad definition, as I defined it in the SML era's video, and the personalized one, which is the one I will be discussing primarily in this video. Again, these are the guideposts for what I consider classic, not so much the broad general definition of the SML era's video. So to start off, let's talk about the location. Classic SML, both by the broad definition as well as my own personalized one, was gone by the time the apartment era came about. This was deep into the Junior era by this point, and if you didn't like Junior, then you weren't a fan of this era. Nearly all of the videos I look back on as classics were in the old house. And while I don't think the old house made the videos classics, it certainly helped. The old house was the best irregular location for Logan's videos. The apartment, and later on the new house, just felt increasingly more like sets than anything else. Honestly, sometimes I forget that the red couch area isn't a set. The old house had some actual variety to it, and it felt lived in. It added to a sort of older YouTube charm that isn't exactly present in Logan's videos anymore. Although speaking of old YouTube charm, this could be an excellent segue into the beginning of the classic era with Mario and Luigi's Stupid and Dumb Adventures Season 1, and how much I love that. But honestly, Season 1 is just kinda decent. Now, okay, before you get out your pitchforks and torches, I think that it's fine, even decent. And honestly, I love Zeke's acting as Mom Luigi. The season definitely has its moments. In fact, many good moments. However, the main problem with it is the pacing. Some jokes or scenes are just too slow and go on too long. I get this was very early on into Logan doing this, so I'm not faulting him for it by any means. There's still some very good portions of the season, but especially watching as Math releases his versions of Season 1, a lot of the excess stuff got trimmed, and it will honestly probably be the way I rewatch Season 1 going forward. I still think Season 1 was an important step for Logan, and I'm not denying its importance in history for the channel. But I also think the same thing about Half-Life and Black Mesa. Sure, Half-Life is the historically important version, but I'm definitely going to be playing Half-Life more either with Mmod or playing Black Mesa. Obviously, if you're watching Season 1 for the very first time, it's important to watch the original first, in part to understand where things have come from. But after that, well, there's a significantly improved version being worked on as we speak. For a long time, I just didn't care for rewatching Season 1 of Mario and Luigi's Stupid and Dumb Adventures. Or I'd rewatch Season 1 for just the highlights. Sure, they were classics in my opinion, but some of the slow bits just sort of added up too much. With that being said, Season 2 is much better. and the one I always opt to watch. It still has that old YouTube charm, while simultaneously not having things go on for too long. This season is truly a classic, and is one of the heights, if not the peak of SML. I personally think SML peaked with the finale to Season 2, but everything during this time was pretty great if you ask me. For starters, Logan wasn't rushing things. He had himself, Lance, and Lavelle as actors, and he hadn't made a schedule for his videos yet. It was more like they released when they were finished. One of modern SML's biggest flaws has been making 3 now, videos a week. At best, this causes videos to lack polish. At worst, this causes the videos to be flat out bad. Classic SML, meanwhile, cared about making a few good videos every so often instead. Also, as a side note, rewatching classic SML videos reminds me just how good the effects were. Seriously, what happened to modern SML's effects? And characters? And stories? And okay, why was all this done far better in 2011 than it is now? But sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So how far does classic SML extend out to, in my opinion? Well, the broad definition I gave during the classic era video goes to the first Junior video, but I'll extend that a bit. There are still plenty of what I consider really good videos towards the beginning of the Junior era. It's my belief, however, that things started falling apart after Junior became a really big mainstay on the channel. Bowser Jr. Summer School was probably the final series which I could still consider a true classic that I enjoyed going back to watch. Also, that's really pushing it since we were starting to really get deep into the Junior era at that point. However, the videos during this time period I do enjoy were actually really great. Not all of them were perfect, but generally everything was pretty good. Classic SML had many things going for it that modern SML lacks. We've already discussed the location these videos take place in, but let's actually go more in depth with that before proceeding. Most SML videos anymore take place for a majority of the time on the red couch, sometimes even exclusively on the red couch. Compare this to classic SML. Sure, there were some main locations, the kitchen comes to mind, but it wasn't every single video. This variety also extends onto the characters. Now, while I think very recently things have started to improve when it comes to character variety, for a long time during the modern eras, you would have Junior, Cody, Joseph, Jeffy, one of Brooklyn Guy's iterations, Mario, and sometimes Chef PP, or sometimes Goodman showing up demanding house payment. Now, while this isn't a small cast, the variety isn't all that great, and usually there seems to be a maximum amount of characters per video. Like, the videos can only handle so many characters or something. Compare this with the older videos, where you get Mario, Bowser, Chef Pee-Pee, Toad, Woody, Shrek, the Angry Birds, any of the random one-off characters that Lance or Lavelle play, and if we include Junior in here, him as well. We still got the Brooklyn guy towards the end there, and we even got Goodman before his character was completely destroyed. Hey, remember when Goodman was a decent character that got decent plots from time to time? Oh yeah, speaking of plots, plots in modern SML kind of suck. A lot of them are, character does stupid thing and it needs to be fixed before arbitrary deadline takes place, or character does stupid thing, but it's funny because it's annoying to the arbitrary straight man character. Oh, also, if it's Jeffy, then the Rosalina monstrosity, puppet, has to say at least once that it's just about Jeffy expressing himself or some other stupid nonsense. Back in classic SML though, there were plenty of creative ideas and videos. Some were short videos, others weren't. Actually, hey, remember SML Shorts? Back when not every single video had to be stretched out to 15 minutes or more? Sure, it's okay to make longer videos. It's another thing to try and pad out the runtime. Most of classic SML felt unique. It was an individual video or series. Actually, hey, remember series videos as well? Can't have those anymore. And each video was usually original. It wasn't the same jokes over and over again. Sure, there would be similar patterns a few times, but even when that did happen, the videos still felt different. Unlike modern SML, where a lot of the videos run together, in part due to how frequently they're published, and in part due to how similar most of them feel to one another. Finally, there's Logan himself. Now, I'm not really going to get into his cast here. Sure, there are problems with other cast members, which could be mentioned here, but they're ultimately under Logan's direction. Logan's videos used to feel like they were made by an actual person. Now, however, Logan's videos feel like they're pumped out to fuel the algorithm. Maybe this is just me, but I'd rather wait weeks or even longer for Logan to release a good video instead of several bad ones. This issue of SML feeling more and more artificial has also come into play with how much he tries to push the puppets and other merch. Sure, this isn't as bad as other channels, and ultimately one could argue that this is more of a problem with modern YouTube as a whole than just Logan. Oh, and let's not forget sponsorship videos, which, while rare in SML, well, if I had a nickel for every time Logan did some horrible and lazy sponsorship video, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. Or I guess 3 times if you count this one. However, this in my opinion has been the biggest fall from classic SML, and it serves to remind me and many others as to just why I loved classic SML so much. Classic SML was, now get ready for this, good. It had charm, it was creative, it had good writing, funny jokes, and great characters. It was made by Logan as something nice and fun. These are all things I can't say for modern SML. Don't get me wrong, modern SML has its moments, but as we all know, it just isn't the same. This was why I started talking about Logan's content. I was watching things start to go downhill, and I was hoping we could get back to classic SML. But since that clearly didn't work, I'm now explaining these things primarily to you, the viewer. Classic SML was great, and it's always nice to see more that follows like it. Let's not forget that classic SML existed. It was the best, and still is the best. Thank you all for watching, and take care.